The period between 1944 and May 1945 marked the final and most panicked phase of the Third Reich, an era in which the German war machine was on the brink of total collapse. With the Soviet Red Army brutally pushing forward from the East and Western Allied forces rapidly advancing across France after D-Day, Germany was increasingly squeezed. They sought to destroy evidence of the unimaginable crimes they had committed since the Wannsee Conference in early 1942. Amid this profound crisis, decision-making in Berlin was dominated by growing panic and Adolf Hitler's mental breakdown. After the failed assassination attempt in July 1944, Hitler became increasingly frustrated and paranoid, tightening his grip on the military and making irrational strategic decisions that often contradicted expert advice. Hitler's frustrations frequently erupted into rages directed at high-ranking military officers. He viewed them as cowards or disloyal, leading to constant changes in commanders and a loss of effective coordination on the battlefield. As the Red Army began liberating camps in the East, such as Majdanek and Auschwitz, in late 1944 and early 1945, the Nazi regime took extreme measures to erase traces of their crimes. They ordered the destruction of gas chambers and crematoria and forced tens of thousands of surviving prisoners on death marches to the remaining camps in Germany. These marches killed thousands due to exhaustion and executions. The discovery of the camps by the Allies and the capture of camp officers, SS officers, and high-ranking military officials who orchestrated and carried out the Holocaust after Germany's total defeat in May 1945 not only marked the end of the war, but also the beginning of a long process to uncover the largest organized crime in human history. Among the captured SS commanders was Arthur Liebehenschel. Liebehenschel was directly responsible for the suffering of prisoners at Auschwitz. As commander of Auschwitz from November 1943 to May 1944, Liebehenschel implemented policies that caused the deaths of tens of thousands of prisoners. Although he is sometimes described as more humane than his predecessor Rudolf Höß, evidence shows he remained loyal to the Nazi genocidal agenda. This story begins in Posen, a region that was then part of the German Empire, on November 25, 1901. This is where Arthur Liebehenschel was born and raised. His youth was shaped by discipline and order. After completing 8 years of elementary school and 3 years of trade school, he briefly worked in railway administration. However, the chaos following World War I forced him to make a major decision. In January 1919, to avoid detention by Polish authorities amid border conflicts, he fled and joined the Grenzschutz Ost, or Eastern Border Guard. His military spirit was further honed when he enlisted in the Reichswehr in September 1919. He served for a full 12 years. When he left in October 1931, he held the rank of Oberfeldwebel and had completed specialized training in economic administration. It was this administrative expertise that would later become his primary weapon, not a rifle, but a pen and documents. The turning point that changed his fate, and the fate of thousands of others, occurred on February 1, 1932. Liebehenschel joined the Nazi Party and the SS simultaneously. His career skyrocketed not due to bravery on the battlefield, but because of his managerial skills. He worked under Theodor Eicke, a figure known as the architect of the concentration camp system. From 1934 to 1940, Liebehenschel held strategic positions at Columbia House and Lichtenberg camps, before eventually moving to Berlin to lead the political department at the concentration camps inspectorate. Here, he served as the brains behind the detention structure. The peak of his bureaucratic career was reached in March 1943. He was no longer just overseeing one department, but was appointed head of Department D1 at the SS Main Economic and Administrative Office, or WVHA. This position placed him as the second in command under the concentration camps inspector, Richard Glucks. In this role, Liebehenschel's cold-heartedness was evident. He realized that history might not view the SS actions favorably. Therefore, he issued a horrific bureaucratic instruction. SS members involved in mass killings and receiving the Kriegsverdienstkreuz medal were strictly forbidden from using the word execution in their reports. Instead, they had to use a smooth euphemism: completion of important war tasks. On November 11, 1943, Liebehenschel received his biggest assignment, becoming commander of Auschwitz I concentration camp and Standort Ältester, or senior officer for the entire Auschwitz garrison. He replaced Rudolf Höß, a brutal and efficient commander. However, his leadership at Auschwitz created a historical anomaly. Based on testimonies from surviving prisoners, conditions at the main camp improved slightly under his orders. Liebehenschel halted routine selections for executions at the Black Wall, ordered the dismantling of the execution wall, and destroyed the standing cells. Not only that, he also granted amnesty to prisoners in the punishment bunker. Was this an act of mercy? Not a few people doubt it. These steps appeared more as the pragmatism of a bureaucrat who wanted to preserve labor assets to remain productive for Germany's war industry, rather than humanitarian concern. In the eyes of radical SS leaders like Rudolf Höß, these actions were seen as signs of weakness and incompetence in managing the camp. Ironically, Liebehenschel's career at Auschwitz did not crumble because of his camp policies, but due to a romantic scandal. The narrative of his downfall began when Liebehenschel made a fatal decision to divorce his wife and leave his family for a woman named Anneliese Hüttemann. This relationship became a major disgrace among the SS elite. An internal investigation revealed that Hüttemann had been detained for 3 weeks in 1935 for having a relationship with a Jewish man. In the SS moral universe, which was fanatically obsessed with blood purity and racial separation, marrying a woman considered tainted by such a relationship was the most severe violation of the code of ethics. Liebehenschel's superior, Oswald Pohl, strongly opposed the marriage. However, the situation became more complicated when it was discovered that Anneliese Hüttemann was pregnant with Liebehenschel's child. This fact led Heinrich Himmler to reluctantly grant permission for the marriage. Nevertheless, the price was very high. Liebehenschel was removed from his position at Auschwitz on May 8, 1944. As a form of punishment and subtle humiliation, he was transferred to become commander at Majdanek concentration camp on May 19, 1944. This assignment was futile because Majdanek was already in the process of evacuation and nearly empty. His career ended, drowned in the bureaucratic disgrace he had built himself. After Germany's surrender, Liebehenschel could not escape his past. He was captured by American forces in 1945 and later extradited to Poland to account for his actions. He was tried at the Supreme National Tribunal in Krakow in what is known as the Auschwitz trial. Before the judges, Liebehenschel tried to defend himself. He insisted that he was not personally responsible for the mass murders, claiming that he only carried out administrative orders and had even improved camp conditions. However, documentary evidence and survivor testimonies told a different story. His signature was on the system that sent millions to their deaths. On December 22, 1947, the judge's gavel fell. He was found guilty of crimes against humanity and sentenced to death. On January 24, 1948, at Montelupich prison in Krakow, Arthur Liebehenschel was hanged. His death on the gallows became a grim closure for a man who tried to cover up genocidal crimes with neatly bureaucratic terms. At the end of his life, no euphemism could save him from justice.